I actually got back about 5 minutes before our regular meeting time. Okay, so
okay, really? Oh,
yes, yes, it was did happen, but just a precaution. So I asked you a bit more time. Yeah,
fair enough. Fair
yeah.
enough.
All right, so maybe we start with sharing some wins. Would you like to start on your end?
You go first.
Okay, all right, great. So well, wonderful trip. It's being 8 days, 7 nights. Definitely replicating the last year's around Taiwan trip. A lot of the aspects. We had great hotels, places to stay, a lot of big experiences, lots of learnings. So the one biggest thing I'd say from the trip for me at least has been handling, accepting emotions from family members and helping them to speak out what's actually in their mind. Like there were maybe 1 or 2 times a day, my son would get to become really angry at certain things if something didn't go his way. He's 8 years old. That's but he gets over quickly, but but there are times that if things not going, he's getting mad. And basically just I think the experience of helping him to convey what's actually on his mind, and maybe also on my Eris, on her mind at times, I found that to be very helpful in terms of calming down the situation and helping everybody to recover faster to their quote unquote normal state, the more rational minds. So I think, yeah, just the being acceptive. And I was surprised that actually I did felt I was getting better at this, that being able to help to actually seeing and identifying what's not being said, but which is the actual more important message. Like I feel hurt, I feel frustrated, I feel not being understood. Yeah, things like that. Okay, so that's a win on the family front. A couple of upgrades wins. Yesterday we went to the beach in southern Taiwan. Really nice beach. First time my kids went to a beach with sands. So they actually had bad beach experiences previously with rocky beaches, and I guess rocky and with cramps. And this time it's a beach that they can actually play water with. So they had, I can definitely see was quite some peak experiences in terms of really excited with the water, playful, but also a bit scared. Exactly what Ben was talking about in this most recent fun and flow moments. It's not that you get scared at times, but that scariness actually help you to become more alert in terms of your senses and the in flow state. So that was inspirational for me as well. To go to something that basically experiences you hadn't been through before, which is by definition what peak experiences are. And the other thing has been listening to Chad's interview, about talking about acquiring a private jet, and his wife was embarrassed about that. I don't know if you, yeah. So yeah, Chad, Ben's financial advisor, right? I mean, there's okay, so it's a platinum interview. But I think this year. But anyway, he basically shares about the he recently acquired this private jet and to cut travel time. But basically, he was saying something like, at some point he started to learn to just be honest about his wants and not being embarrassed about it. And he finds that when he does that, communicate like actually quite a few people are not so. When they hear about, people having private jets, it may not be, it could be very negative responses or reactions. Okay.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, but he has learned that, it's not really about the judgments are. But okay, so I think my takeaway was, if you're being true and honest to yourself, whether to yourself or your message or your cause, you're going to attract people, but at the same time repel people. And that actually happens at the same time. And great messages actually serve both, like at the same time, that you want to attract as much as to repel. So that's something I'm thinking. I heard Russell Brunson talk about this as well, in his funnel marketing. It's something I had. In other words, if you try to please everyone, you will please no one, and your message will not stand out. Yeah. So that's. And thirdly, for JCF, first draft for the all-weather strategy that I share on Slack. Okay, we can, I think, discuss that. But and I think we will have that into manual operation, within a couple of days. That's I mean, even if the system is haven't ready yet, we can implement that manually, and tuning along the way. Okay, so those are the things.
Awesome.
Yeah,
but it's really good that you had the time with your kids and your family. That was really good, and that was quite a deep. That's quite a deep learning, I suppose. Really, being with them and helping them understand how to communicate their emotions. It's
okay.
Yeah, that's special. So good for you on that
Okay.
one.
All right. Thanks. All right. All right. So what
was I
about
going to say about
wins?
do you know what I heard about the Richard Branson talking about? He said if it flies or it floats, don't buy it.
If it what? If it flies?
If it flies or it floats, don't buy it. So it's just, you can rent a boat anytime you want. You want a yacht? Go and rent one. Rent one for the week. You got that much money. But if you buy a yacht, it's millions of dollars, and it sits on you'll have to sit somewhere. It'll have to stay there. You've got to have a crew. You've got to wash it. You've got to all operational.
Right,
you rent it.
Okay.
The thing is, yachts, man. I've no desire to go and sit on a yacht. And my wife looks at it. She goes, "Oh, isn't that glamorous? Isn't it wonderful going around the Mediterranean?" No, it's bloody horrible. Bouncing up and down, having no control. I mean, like at least when you're in a plane, right? It's usually pretty flat, right? Apart from a little bit of turbulence, but it's usually pretty flat, right? And there's the landing and the taking off. But so anyway, but I'm seriously though. That whole thing about whether or not it's more cost efficient in terms of time.
Okay.
To go on a chartered flight or go on a private jet and buy a jet. I think maybe it makes sense in America. I don't. I find it. I don't know. I'd like to be in that position where I have to make that decision.
Okay.
It wouldn't.
It talks about it's a 7-figure to maintain a private jet. Actually, it could go to 7-figure. Okay.
Exactly.
So
it's the same difference, right? I mean, if it's worth that much to you,
right.
That time. But you see, because I'd sit there and say, "Well, I'd like to know." I mean, looking at it as a mathematical equation,
right?
I mean, to be honest with you, it'd be nice to be able to walk into an airport, get on your own plane, and fly off, and do all that sort of stuff. That'd be great. But does it? You could charter. There are companies in the UK where you charter planes to take you from one place to another.
Okay.
So I would say that it's possibly more cost efficient, and I suppose it depends on your. Because all you're really doing is you're taking out a day. Okay, so going to Canada, for instance, I will travel down the day before the flight. I'll stay in a hotel. I'll get up and I'll go into the airport, probably have breakfast in the airport, and sit in the business lounge for half a day, and get onto the plane and travel. So the only thing that I'm saving if I was to have my own jet would be that time of getting from the airport, from my home to the airport, and getting on the flight. And if so that's maybe a 24-hour time period.
Okay, I see.
I would save, but that's only really take out 8 hours of that 24.
Okay.
Take out 8 hours of another 8 hours of my own time. That's only really 8 hours of work. So there's 8 hours of work on one trip.
Okay.
make it worth, several $1 million.
Okay. Okay, I see. That's your
You'd
point.
have to have.
Chad mentioned it's not from a financial standpoint that he made the decision. Not purely
No, I don't think it can be. It just has to be, yeah, I can afford it, yeah, I'll have it, and I'm okay with that. So
right.
Which is fine.
Oh yeah, he mentioned something also, I think also, this is another takeaway. He educates his clients about coach concepts and in fact invites them to coach. And in fact, I think he's not working with clients directly if they're not like in coach. Okay, yeah. So or you're not willing to like understand because, well, for one thing, it's good for the clients. The other thing is it will also be easier clients to work with if you have the same language and mindset. Okay. So I found that interesting in the sense of that becomes a filter in terms of who you interact with, who you do business with, right? And I think that's also what Dan talked when he talks about, or he's forming the free zone, right? The free zone frontier, the free zone, that whole concept. So I think that's another thing I have taken on the back of my mind to think about how I might apply something similar as a filter to people I, work with or collaborate with. Right? So that's another thing. Yeah. So yeah. But anyway, all right. So let's hear your wins. Okay.
Yeah. So it's interesting now that I'm not a part of Platinum.
Right.
What I was doing, excuse me, just before my call with Natasha every week, I'd have a spreadsheet.
Okay.
And it's wins for the week. What my top three, for the week, for the month, for the quarter, and I was filling that out, and man, the progress that I could actually see just mammothly escalated up, especially from when I started getting up at 5 o'clock, so around about July time, and just started nailing frogs day after day after day after day. And so this last Friday, I was reflecting before I finished for the week. And I just started, I realized what a loss that is if I do not continue that process of compiling those wins. So I guess that in itself is a win because it means an accelerated growth, right? Or a persistence that allows that consistent growth. So anyway, one of the things I've already known this for ages, but I saw it in practice, and I think I might have explained this to you on Wednesday night about Carlos, right? But it's about it. There is only me. I am the owner. I'm solely responsible for everything that goes on within the context of IncomeSec. So if I've hired this guy and he's not performing, it's my responsibility. His success is my responsibility. So something I heard I read it in the first chapter of Unique Abilities. So there's a whole book, it's about that thick, written by Shannon Waller and her daughter and somebody else, all within the coach concept. So I asked Rebecca about it, and they sent me a copy. So which is pretty good. Okay, I spoke to Natasha about that, Natasha Amp, and she went, okay. Yeah, I had to buy mine.
Okay.
So I got $45 worth of book on that. So
okay.
Yeah, but my point is, in there, the first chapter talks about Chad. I'm assuming it's the same Chad, right?
Right. It is. Yes.
They haven't. Ben's understanding of or description of Chad and coaches are like there, because coaches started right at the very beginning when the guy was doing some really menial jobs. Well, not really menial, but at the beginning of his journey.
Right.
Whereas Ben's talking about him when he's at the, pretty much almost at the peak, right? But yeah, this whole idea about ownership and yeah, so there's that. Starting flow. So I started doing some serious work about flow, which means I've got my first day tomorrow. I finished my what's in it for them, which was actually quite interesting. The end of it, it's worth, there's some exercises I did at the end of that book which were interesting. And started Unique Abilities, sorted out pretty much the Bali trip, sorted out the Canada trip pretty much, and then revisited. So I thought the implementation of Freehand was really good, that we did on Wednesday. And actually I went on and carried on that whole process and kind of formulated it. So I did up to the end of the chapter basically by filling out what I believe would be good answers for completing that.
Okay, great.
So and it was just like, just really kind of like, oh my goodness, really?
Okay.
The clarity that you get, and I thought, I read the book ages ago. I kind of think, yeah, it's kind of interesting. I didn't do any of the exercises. I kind of went, yeah, I'll do them another time. Yeah, it's okay. But actually, when you put the thing into practice, man, there's a lot of insight that comes. And it's not that I was going, oh wow, I never understood that. Yeah, you do understand it, but what you're doing is you're taking it from being a kind of an idea that's over here that kind of streams into your consciousness and then out again, and you go, no, right, I'm putting that on paper, and then that becomes something more solid and tangible that you then go, right, okay, that's where we're going. This is where we are. This is what we need to do to get there, sort of thing. And it becomes a little bit more concrete, because one thing I've realized, I'm good at doing things, and I get quite enthusiastic, and sometimes I go a long way to getting things done. But I worry that I am not a finisher, a really good finisher. So for instance, my sword work, I haven't done anything with swords in ages. And you still need a new computer.
Yes.
And
I just got back from the trip. That should be a priority.
Yeah. So I'm just teasing.
No,
but I got an MBA, right? I did a degree. Right? I got an MBA. You need to be able to finish things to achieve those kind of criteria.
Right.
I'm still doing income sec, and that's a long haul marathon, right? I haven't given up, right? So I haven't failed, right? But could I have? But there are something, I still have this in my head that I haven't finished. I haven't completed. I'm not completing things. Perhaps not completing like a series of tasks, which will, instead of going along a kind of trajectory like this, if I was to complete the series of tasks that I've set myself, then I would have a trajectory like that. Do you see what I mean? And so rather than just that. So yeah, I guess, and all of these realizations are wins.
Okay, great. That's tightening up loose ends, right? Because loose ends could take out energies and could be draining. And if you close them, it becomes complete, and the energy can be utilized for something bigger and better. I think that's tightening up loose ends. And I think that relates to why Ben also emphasized to have no more than 3 goals, whether your annual, quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily, big 3, because anything more than that, one, you likely will not complete them. And second, it's going to be, like on closed loops, I think, essentially, loose ends. That's going to cost you attention.
I've done my 3 for today.
Okay, already. Great.
They basically, we shouldn't be having this call if I was Ben. I'd said, no, I'm sorry, I've done my 3. You're not one of them. But that's,
I see. Okay.
That's my Argos.
Right.
For the week.
Okay.
And that's really interesting doing that.
Wow.
Really interesting.
Okay. Wow. Nice. All right. So this is something. Okay. Think about. Okay. So what are some things you'd like to discuss for today?
The impact filter that I sent through.
Okay, all right, sure. And I also had impact filter and embedded strategy. Okay, so that's something I also really like to get a quick review on. All right, so let's start with yours. Would you like to share your screen or?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I've read it, by the way. Okay, already.
Oh, well
But
done.
it's good to I guess have some discussions.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so
Right.
I guess really in reality, I kind of figured that Toronto could be a kind of collision, I should say, could be a forcing function. Just gives us a it's halfway through the year almost. But I think it gives us some stuff to focus on. And we've got our three things here. Again, this is just a version, and I understand it can be amended and iterated dependent on how we consult about what we think is right and wrong. So obviously we've got the two strands of what we're trying to do. And I do feel that Maine getting that more operational or increasing its operational functionality would be is an important aspect. So that's why I said it raised the volume of retail investment in Maine. Again, if we added 100 customers, retail investors, if we added 1,000, it's that organic process of and there's a couple of things that need to happen for that to occur. Okay, so raise interest on JCF Maine and wealth. Okay, so that we're actually going. I mean, we got until June, so that's plenty of time to have both platforms kind of working in their own context. And then what I want to accomplish, actually, perhaps at Collision, is maybe have some seed funding come out of that.
Okay.
I think that would be really useful, because then we can do far more with what we've got. So then, for instance, if we had if we had an investor that was able to invest, I don't know, $10,000 for argument's sake, right? Then that $10,000 could pay for Hakeem, for argument's sake, or Ian, right? I don't care which. And that would then allow us to turn that 10,000 into 10 million.
Okay.
Right? And that then becomes a much that's us adding value, right? Because if we were able to take, if you just think about that as a concept, if we were able to take $10,000 and turn it into 10 million just by us adding the value of JCF, what is that to an investor? If they've got 1%, if they've got 1% of that,
right,
and they've got 1% of 10 million, that's 100,000, right?
Okay.
Is that my maths is correct, right? In terms of the notes.
1% of 10, yes. 1% of 10 million, that would be 100K.
Right. So if I invested $10,000 and I got 100,000 back.
Okay.
That's a tenfold. That's a 10 times increase on my initial investment, isn't it? Okay, that's a 10x right there, which is actually.
You're talking about the companies. You're talking about the company value, is it right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm talking about if I as an investor was to invest $10,000 and I got 100,000 back, then that's a 1,000% increase in value.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, so look, let's move on. But that's kind of that to me, though, that those numbers do not appear unrealistic. They don't. Knowing about blockchain and crypto, they seem realistic. And if that's the case, what we have then is a very real story to tell potential investors, because we really are adding value. That becomes a value proposition. And if we're adhering to what Coach and AMP and all the other guys are telling us, it's by creating value. So by illustrating that, we can actually show that we're adding value at different levels. Okay. So importance then, what's the biggest difference this will make? Well, okay, more retail investors will grow the fund organically. Boom, that was a conversation that you made that point right at the very, very beginning, that organic growth is where something will happen.
Right.
Increased number genuinely want to participate with Main and Wealth. I think that genuine participation is where people are actually, when I say genuine, I mean, they've bought into the social impact concept and they're putting their money down. So there's two criteria there that I haven't really vocalized other than just now, or have I thought about in my mind before that. But you know, what is a genuine? How do we define a genuine participant? Somebody who gets social impact and puts their money down. So Eldon, for instance, seemed very genuine. He liked the concept, so he was down with the concept, but he didn't put any money down. So he wasn't genuine. And I don't mean that in an insultive way. It's just that's a criteria, right? And maybe he's not genuine. He wasn't genuine then because he didn't see the truth in us, perhaps. So that's our responsibility, right? So then funding will enhance how we put into place the infrastructure. So this is about that seed capital. So what will we do? Well, that just builds the infrastructure so that we've got the development, we've done the development, we've put everything in place, everything works. And then indeed we start marketing. And that too, to me, is marketing is part of infrastructure as well. Ideal outcome. Okay, so that's where I started talking about forcing function. The data Toronto is a forcing function for having a fully functional main and direct. So ideal outcome, well, we've increased our retail investors, we've increased engagement with a wider community, and we've got interested funding opportunities. So those are ideal outcomes. I always go to the worst result before I do the best result.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
I mean,
that's also what Dan suggests, actually. Yeah.
Right. Oh, okay. Fine. So clearly, I've picked. Okay. So JCF continues on its current trajectory. The current trajectory, I think, is broadly speaking, it is peaks and it is valleys, and it is upwardly mobile. And I just think that whatever kind of graphical line you want to put on its upward mobility is whatever it is. I don't care what it is, but I think it's kind of a steady growth, right? But we don't. I would suggest that we don't want that. We want exponential growth, and so that exponential growth, I believe, will come from changing the way we do things. So. What's the benefit? Best results? Well, if we do all of this stuff anyway, regardless of what happens at Toronto, we've still grown. If we implement all of these ideas, if we actually finish them, right? If we complete on them by Toronto, then we've grown whatever happens, and that's a good thing. So we could actually go to, imagine if you had a $10,000 investment, which we could then turn into a $10 million investment. Well, before Toronto, we can go to Toronto and kick back and enjoy ourselves. I'm not saying that we would do that, but clarity. So goal achievement for both main and I know I think what you and I do is when we talk, there's a lot of ideas going around, but I think what I believe is necessary is for us to highlight and identify like maybe a couple of key points, which is what the free hags is doing for us, right? Going through that helps us clarify that. And then that then means that, right, we now know that of our little pyramid, this is the apex that we need to reach. So we get that by these building blocks. And then from collision, you see, here's the thing, if we achieve all of these things before collision, then when we go to collision, we just exponentially grow what we can do at collision. That then becomes the thing. So
you're talking about scaling. You're talking about scaling up. Yeah. Okay.
And then success criteria: cradle or grave, bug free. I'm still, although I haven't actually invested anything in Maine, and so I don't know the whole experience. What I have experienced though isn't bug free. So how will I then and I know what's happened is Sunny said, oh well, you can try it now with your email address and it will work. That's great for me personally, Mike, but if I tried it with a different email address, would it work? Would it be bug free? Do we know it's bug free? And when I say bug free, not having the same issues that I had, and that other people appeared to have had. So no token donation working at start. What I meant by that is my understanding is that we should be able to say to people when they invest, let's say they put in, I don't know, $1,000, right? Then we should be able to ask them, of your 7%, where do you want that to go? And then they should have a choice: family member, friend, charity. And that charity might have a drop down of the ones that we're currently dealing with. So there's that. But yeah, growth stats for fund reviewable on fund reviewable growth. What I meant by that was, if anybody's investing, what they tend to do is they look at their little if you go onto, I don't know, any of the exchanges, you can see a chart of what's going on with any particular ticket, whether it be a share or a crypto, whatever it is, or a currency, right? So whilst JCF doesn't actually have one of those, I think that if we were to say, we do need to illustrate what we're doing so that people can grasp it more easily.
Right. Okay.
So what we could, I'm literally just thinking about this now, but if we were to say, all right, on the whole, we have invested in Bitcoin, Ethereum, USDT, and I don't know, maybe pick 5, right? Our premise is top 10. And then we choose the top 5. We out of those we've chosen 5 there, and then you can have each one of those currencies on their own little graph, and then you can show that. We can get that from any exchange, and we can show what their growth rate is, and then maybe we'll put a timeline in and say, like, look, from 2018 to 2023 to date, their growth has been like this, right? And then we can show that. Then we can sit there and overlay what JCF has done.
Right.
So then people can see, and that should, theoretically, if we're right, what that should show is that there's a consistent growth there.
Okay. All right.
And that's a visual representation that people will be able to look at quickly and understand, oh, so that's why I invest my money.
Okay, right.
And if there's a point at which we're below the line anywhere, then we need to highlight those and then answer that question. Why are you below the line? We're below the line because.
Right.
And theoretically, we should be able to answer that question every time.
Right. Okay.
Again, what we're doing then is we're making the proposition, so good they can't ignore us, because we're showing them what's happening, and and then we're also getting into their mind. So we're getting into that conversation. So what's the conversation that people have? I'd like to get involved with crypto because it's really lucrative. I don't want to get involved with crypto because it's really complicated. I don't want to get involved with crypto because it's really volatile. Right.
Okay.
So we get into the minds of their conversation, and we answer their questions, and we overcome their objections.
Right. Exactly.
Right. Website updated. So the website update, what I mean by that is, we've got, actually, I kind of blended a couple here, but we should have a separate website for wealth and a separate website for Maine.
Okay.
And then with what we're achieving on Maine, then we could have this growth from your reviewable kind of information, so people can see where we're working. Landing page. for that, I believe that landing page, my understanding of landing pages is not that you should, I know Ben said that he had something to give away on his landing page. I don't necessarily think that you have to do that, because I was reading, and I can't remember if it was Alex Hormozy or if it was somebody else, but a website is a place where you've got a lot of information.
Okay.
A landing page is something specific that allows the user just to do one call to action.
One thing, right? Okay.
So that one call to action on our landing page is for them to invest.
Right.
They could go to our website and they could read through all the information, and they could click a link that takes them to an enrollment page.
Right.
Or we've you know, for instance, if we're at Collision and we're talking to people and they go, wow, that's really interesting, can you know what, where would I sign up? I go, well, look, here we go, see this QR code, why don't you click on that? That'll take you to the landing page. You can invest straight away. You can start investing now.
Okay.
But that then becomes a really quick and efficient way, because people were getting it when you were talking to them, but you know, we weren't able to take them down that journey, right?
Right. Okay.
Ditto with Wealth having its own website, its own white paper, its own landing page. And then I would say that then lastly, migration of Wealth to migration of Main to Wealth, and then potentially having SM launched on Wealth. I think, you know, we should be aiming for that for Collision, so that this is all then tied away. But anyway.
Okay. All right. Great. Okay. I think that's let me see if I capture correctly. Basically, you're talking about a JCF main fund being a polished product that does everything it's promised to do, and with evidence shown, clear message.
80%.
Okay.
80% to us, 100% to everybody else, right?
Right. That's right. And people can onboard rather easily, right? Should they choose to, also on the spot. So yeah. Well, I think I fully agree with everything you said and presented. Okay. Now my question is, what's the order of priority? And also in terms of the execution, like who are the who's to execute? Because those are my two questions that I think we want to figure out, right? Obviously there are some things that might require ordering, okay, but some can execute in parallel. That's also, and there are okay, and then also the who's, okay, who are the who's to actually get this done, okay, and I guess those are the, okay, so I guess what I like to feedback on is sort of a current take on what I think, okay, and maybe as okay, so let me try to get to the execution mode. Would that be all right? But also maybe I guess the who, not how. So in terms of getting the main fund, okay, so sorry, let me ask you though, what would be I guess the priority in your mind, the logical, is this already sorted in terms of the orders you're thinking?
No, as soon as you said that, the question I got in my head was, we need to gap analysis where we are. What do we have right now? This is where we want to be. Okay,
right.
How do we bring them together?
Right,
and that's
right. Okay.
Because you know, one of the challenges that I have, and I DDoS this today, right, is what's a danger this week regarding JCF?
Right.
And the danger to achieving our goals is that I don't know technically exactly what's going on. Conceptually, I have an idea.
Right.
I then say to you, Shunyun, have we done this, this, and this, and this? And you'll
Right.
go, yeah, Sunny's doing this, Amrit's doing that, we're waiting
Right.
for Nick to do this, and da-di-da-di-da-di-da.
Right.
But I don't actually know how complete everything is.
Right. Right.
So from a technical perspective, is you know, when I say a working platform for Maine, cradle to grave, bug free,
right,
80% bug free internally, 100% from the outside world. Right. But cradle to grave to me means that I put in my email on one end and I put in 100. And how do I put in my $100, $1,000?
Right. Okay.
How does that then convert to tokens and so on and so forth?
Right.
That is the whole process.
Right.
Then I get my JCF tokens by return, and I nominate who my recipients are.
Right. That's right.
But I really don't know where we are on that. You know, if we mapped out on this whiteboard behind me each stage of that process. Okay. What, you know, A, I've never done that. Okay. B, I don't know whether or not we're you know, close or far. So, sorry, it's a very long-winded caffeine-driven answer to your very
no. It's good. So, well, I think the obvious from my end is we want you to get you to sign up and invest first and actually go through the current process so you know what's the current state is. Okay. Okay, so in terms of Maine, from my understanding, you know, because we do have onboarded 100 plus, you know, people already, and there has been investments, there has been withdrawal. So obviously it's an operation. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's an operation. And I think to get you to be with, you know, to get into just, you know, invested a bit and participate, having logging, I think that's actually a core priority now. Okay. So because that's supposed to work already. Okay. And that should be an easy step. And also you can understand better like what's the gap, you know. And in terms of donation, this is the part. Okay, so I'll do a quick feedback on the current state as I understand it. Okay, the donation aspect actually, there is about $7,000-8,000 worth of donation tokens that's currently sits in one of the wallets we own. Right now, the process of inviting people through email, that is something that's that should be working. Okay, and but it hasn't really been I guess basically put online yet. Okay, because due to various other things we have been doing, building wealth, etc. Like for example, right now the I think the current thing is to get the wealth funding to work correctly. Okay, basically the new system up and running that can replicate the current main operations in terms of investing, withdrawing, everything, etc. So that's the current. And growth stats. We have stats on the JCF. If you log into that, let me just show you.
I'll stop sharing.
Yeah. Now, we have our own version, but I have been thinking about maybe a better version of that is something on CoinMarketCap. Okay. So that's something actually, if we want to have that, we want to be able to register with CoinMarketCap in terms of, okay, so can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the my.jcf.world domain. Okay, because right now we have the wealth, and so this is the existing JCF main fund. And you can see that I have been logging automatically. Okay, the existing credential. So after I've been logging in, you can see this, this dashboard. So the current NAV is at 62.9. That was up a bit since last time. Total fund 52,000. And there is this thing on the, like, I wouldn't call it very well visually presented, but it does have all the records, from a daily
Right.
basis,
Okay.
you see. So this is already I think the
Yeah.
a version of the visual representation
Oh
you're
yeah,
talking about.
yeah.
Okay, I don't know if you recall this. If you like, and actually you can just on the dashboard to look at for 1 year. So for example, like I think people will care about the NAV more, okay, because that's kind of, so you can see clearly, right? Last year in February was $70, right? It jumped to 62, back to 70 in April, has been falling down, all the way to 59, 56 at some point, and right now it's back to 60, close to 63. All right. So there is that trajectory of, records. And the limitation of this presentation is it's our presentation. It's not very sophisticated, so we only give limited time duration,
Yeah.
but the data is out there. And the other thing is this is our own records. The better record is if it's on a public, site like CoinMarketplace. And that would require us being traded on some, public exchange, or I think on DEX, on decentralized exchange, if it's being traded as a token and we register that. Okay, so this is something I think I might want to find out. We might want to find out, but basically the tradability, the records on CoinMarketCap, because CoinMarketCap is I'm sure you have visited, right? CoinMarketCap, that's kind of like
Ages ago.
right. That's like the main, go-to place for all the records for publicly released tokens. So if we have, listed there, then they will be tracking in essence for all the data for us. Okay.
Yeah.
So by simply going to CoinMarketCap and get it listed there, that would be, that will probably resolve the tracking thing. Okay, so that's I think the growth stats part. Website update and landing page. We do have, I think that's just messaging. Okay, the current state is we do, right? You see what it is. If we want to build a landing page, that's something new. The key thing about landing page, I think it's about the copywriting. So that's probably the gap that, the current gap in terms, if we have something designed, for a strong message, single action to take, landing page itself can be created easily. The other thing I think is, I think there's another aspect to this is what's the user journey that we want to take the user to go through? Okay, like what's the user experience? And I think there are two routes to this. One is to basically have a self-guided, so you do it yourself. Okay, basically you make it clear, you have great user interface, so people can do it themselves if they understand, for example, how to transfer crypto. Or the other approach is what JCF Main so far has been doing, basically it's just to have a instant messenger, a service channel, and that takes people's order. We have a customer service and that does pretty much everything, for you. And all you have to do is do some bank transfer of funds, and we take care of the rest. That is a service approach.
Sorry, can I ask a
sure.
question?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Genuinely, what you've said as a messenger service, and I think in the past you said it was on the Chinese version.
It's called Line. Yes, it's Line.
Right.
It's the most popular, I think, in Korea, Japan, and Taiwan. The instant messenger, right. Kind of the WhatsApp. Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Right.
Well, then that's different to That's different to either WhatsApp, Telegram, or Slack, right?
It's different. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think we discussed about setting up Telegram as the the international portal, right, or the client service channel.
And how easy? So let's say that we've got a Telegram community channel and we've got a Telegram support channel.
Right.
Is that being manned and operated by the same people that are manning and operating the sorry, what was I forget the name of it. What was it again?
Poet. Right now, I think Poet is handling the we have Savia. Okay, Savia was handling the line channel. And right. And right now, I think we can ask Poi to help support the Telegram or the English channel for any kind of requests. So I mean, it's actually from the Taiwanese experience, the version, I'd say it's fairly straightforward. You basically the service staff provides the sort of a bank address, a bank account to transfer funds to in New Taiwan dollar. And, so the client sends it over. And then we just help them to convert that into USDT on a known existing exchange. And I use that to purchase or exchange the JCF tokens. Or wealth tokens, right? For that matter, but it can be any kind of tokens that we're offering. And then snapshotting all the screenshots along the process. Okay, so there's like a photo records of all the exchange, the steps being done by this service, personnel. And then all those screenshots are provided for the clients for record keeping and also for, accountability. And then as a client, you can log into your account and just see, your cryptos are there already, right? So
can I ask another question then?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, this is probably stuff that I would have kind of picked up on had I actually gone through the whole process. Mm-hmm. I think though that
exactly.
If I was a stranger to this,
right,
and I link from a website and I get on a chat channel with somebody I don't know,
right?
Then it suddenly becomes, well, and they're giving me bank details.
Mm-hmm.
It's just way too. What's the word?
The bank detail is ours. It's not theirs. You don't have to provide any.
I know that. I'm not suggesting it would be Poets. But I know that, but it's not the sort of thing you can allow people to have that trust. I think it would be naive of us to have to assume that people will at this stage of the crypto world, it's got to be more like we've got to make it emulate that of paying money into a bank. So it has to be automated from end to end. Any form of transaction.
Right. Okay, totally get it. So if we were to make it more automated, well, I think right now there are users who have knowledge, access, experience with crypto wallets, and those who don't, right?
Yeah.
So I think the first thing is, who are we wanting to serve the most? Or like, who do you want to? I believe all the current companies, pending exchange, they are operating, they accept fiat. So I think it's again the question of whether you accept fiat or not, right? It's a question of whether, and that goes to all the regulatory, I guess, legal things, and the other easier route is to assume that people have crypto wallet knowledge, right? And they can access crypto wallets, but then that raises the bar. So yeah.
But that isn't congruent with our message. Our message is safety, accessibility, and impact.
Right.
So the first two, safety and accessibility, the arguments that you put down right from the very beginning
Mm-hmm.
are exactly the arguments for attracting people who do not have crypto wallets, are uncomfortable with the level of technical detail.
Right.
And at the end of the day, oh my goodness, that's what. Can I? Would you mind if I shared the 3 hags?
Okay, sure. Go ahead. Yeah.
So let me just, because this actually makes sense for me to say all
Okay.
this.
Okay.
Now I've got to find it. So let me just find it for.
Sure.
Here we go. I haven't shared this because this was just me on my own time.
Okay.
Rather than us doing it together. But
okay, sure.
If you'll forgive me for doing this. So
okay.
So I've referenced obviously where it is.
Right.
Hold on a second. I've got this little menu bar down the bottom of the page. Really annoying.
Okay.
Put it. Okay. So core purpose. Well, we've got. I know. We talked about. You did send a message about that, and that can be changed anyway. I'm just saying. But okay. This is, and I know these 2 numbers here. You needed some time to think about it. Got that.
Right.
But I just put it down, right?
Okay.
But here, so there I went down to what to the end, right? So what we known for 3 years. But this is what's interesting to me, right? We had micro, so these are the types of people we have, right? Who are we looking for? Well, micro investors and small investors may or may not be people who are comfortable with wallets, crypto, etc.
Exactly.
But we're making the assumption from the safety and accessibility that they're not, right?
Right.
So if our monthly average users, right, we've got 1 million micro investors, and maybe that figure should be different, right? Or we've got 500,000 small. You know, we might want to have, I don't know, 10 million micro investors.
Okay. Right.
And 5 million small investors. But that would be a micro investor, and that would be a small investor, right? So £10,000 is not small, right? But then if you did a simple multiplication, what does that give us? I was shocked.
Right. Okay.
That's 5 billion. If you look at the whales then, and I went, well, all right, they've got 1 million each. What if we get 1,000 of them? That's only 1 billion. Straight away, our small investors, if we assume these figures are correct, are more valuable to us in terms of asset under management than whales. If we have these people and we capture that market well, then these ones, the institutional investors,
they will follow. Yeah, they will follow.
Yeah, because they'll see where the money is.
Yes, obviously, yes.
Now, you and I have had this conversation, and I think we agreed that it's probably better that we get these whales, you know, we get some of these whales on board because we'll start moving everyone. The way I worked this out is I went this column.
Okay.
I think those are perfectly reasonable numbers.
Okay.
And then went, well, okay. These are I you know, as far as I mean monthly asset.
Okay. Active users, yes.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry. I thought, well, you know, fair enough. I kind of guessed those figures.
What time frame are you looking at? I mean, for the MAU figure.
Well, we've been on this. This is part of our three year kind of.
All right, 3 year. All right. Okay. Yeah.
And given that we've got what? Let's say we've got 100 of these. Right. Haven't we? Really?
I'd say it's at a small investor. The $1,000. You haven't put the $1,000 range here.
No, I haven't. Yeah. Okay, so which is a good point, right, Shannon? Because then that $1,000 might be the $1,000 might be the transition from micro to small.
Right. Correct.
Right. Okay,
I say that's right. Okay. Because some of those do have the capacity to invest 10,000. Yes, that's also.
Oh, okay, fine. Okay. Well, that's cool, right? So we've got 100 of those, or we've had 100, right? Or
Yes,
however many.
we have at least 100, averaging $1,000 investment each. Actually, that's the actual figure. I mean, for
Wow.
the
Okay, and the fund is currently at 60, so they're in a loss basically.
yes, 60, 1,000. Well, $1,000 times 100. Okay, that's
100,000.
right. Okay, so some have withdrawal, obviously. So
Okay.
right,
I think I get.
right.
Let's park that conversation
Okay,
because
yeah.
that's a
Okay,
rabbit
yeah.
hole.
Sure. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
My point here is that by doing it this column, then this column, which I think were reasonable numbers on both,
Right.
I then got this column,
Okay,
and that's the thing that woke me up, because then
okay.
it made these guys probably the most important.
I see your point. I see the small investors. You're talking about the small investors.
Now, I wouldn't have come to that conclusion had I not done this exercise in this manner, which is one of the reasons why I think this free hag exercise is really important.
Okay, all right.
It might be that you disagree with me, which is fine, and it might be that you'll go, well, actually, okay, I get the idea, but I think the numbers should be this, and this. And if any of these two columns change, then potentially this column, this column will also change, which is fine. But these results came from me just doing some estimates.
Okay. All right.
And that's I think that if we come to, and this is why it was important, because if we combine what we said, safety, accessibility, with small investors, we're not talking about people who know how to do wallets. We're not talking about people who have necessarily already got USDT. And so if that is the case, if these figures are right, if that is the audience, then what do we, and this might be where we're looking at the gap in the market, right? It might be that gap. Okay, so Shanyon, I think I said to you the other day, my wife went on a masterclass in crypto, right?
Right.
It was a sales funnel. It was a sales funnel for a bunch of people that didn't know anything about crypto to start trading on crypto in the same way that people can trade on Forex.
Right.
And it was just, that's all it was. But there were people from all over the world. It was like it was a day long, from 10 a.m. in the morning till like 4 p.m. in the evening on a Saturday.
Okay.
There were people in India and China.
Okay.
And people in LA, right? So you've got the breadth of the globe.
Right.
And I don't know how many hundred, but let's say there were 500 people.
Okay.
The sales funnels and got them all there must have been pretty massive.
Right.
But that just gives us an indication of how big that market is, because these people are like, I don't know anything about trading.
Right.
I don't know anything about crypto. And the presentation was really very, this is crypto, bloody basic stuff. And there were people in the audience going, yeah, when are you going to get onto the trading? And the guy was going, look, I'd love to answer those. Guys, I've got to go through this first because this is the basis, right?
Okay.
So there were clearly a mixed bag of people who understood the basic, or didn't give a shit about the concepts of crypto because they just wanted to invest, right? And so I'm beginning to get the sense that, and it coming to our unique ability and where we're offering unique value.
Exactly.
Right? And that then means that if we have together this kind of congruent picture, all right, fine. Look, here's the QR code. Download the app. The app then, I'm making this up now. The app then you put in your username. That's you. That's only you, right? That then automatically gives you a wallet on our system that you can then go to your bank account and transfer, $100. Sorry, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm sending my phone off on taking pictures. $100 of token. Okay, and then that's it. That's $100 on the platform. You'll see it there. that then becomes, that's all they need to do. That's verified by an exchange. Okay, I spoke to CoinPass the other day, right? So CoinPass is sitting there saying, yeah, we can, I think he's reluctant to sign us up to the exchange because he wants to see us at different exchanges. But again, somebody like that will then enable us to tie in with SASs and pensions and all that kind of stuff. You're then opening up to a massive market in the UK that people will want to take a punt on some of their.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thanks.
Is it
Thanks for sharing.
have we extended too long on this call now? Because we've been over an hour.
I think probably we want to wrap up. Okay, for now. Okay, but let me just try to summarize, I guess, your main point. From my perspective, from what I've heard, you're saying these small investors of 10K is, you know, a really big opportunity. Essentially, I think that's what they're. And if we can really get over the accessibility part for this market, then you know that could be huge. So in that sense, I think all the engineering or all the, I guess, our attention and effort actually should be about how to create a seamless user experience to onboard this segment of people, right? Because if they have a smooth experience, an easy experience of onboarding, and then also assuming that we also give them good return for their investment, right? Given our, you know, reliable strategy, that's then that becomes sort of, I would say, two value propositions that could compound it on each other, right?
Yeah.
On one hand, you are giving them profits. On the other hand, you are making it easy for them to get access, to get their feet onto this. And I think you're also saying that there's still a very large, huge untapped market, people unaware or wanting to get into the first time, right? Essentially, this is still a very early stage, even though we, you know, it's being, you know, for some of the people, it feels like ages already, but for lots and lots of other people, it's still really early, like really early stage. Yeah.
Well, if you think about it from in terms of the internet, right? So what? When did they first do? You know, what's his Tim Bern, whatever his name is? When did he actually?
So Tim Berners-Lee. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's 1993. That was the first web browser. Yeah.
92 was the first web browser, but when was the
91? 91, I think, was the time. 91 or 92. That's when World Wide Web was kind of invented. Yeah, I think that's
right. Okay.
Yeah.
But I think, well, okay. The version I heard was back in the 60s, the American Army, the Americans wanted to build something which could.
Yeah, the ARPANET. That was the 60s and 70s. Yeah, and the 80s becomes the TCP/IP protocol in the 80s. Yeah, and email started. Email for service. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So look how long it's taken the internet to get where it is now.
Yeah.
Right.
That was 30 years. That was 30 years. Yeah. That was 30 years. Yeah.
And so if our premise is correct, we know two things, right? We know we can apply Moore's law to this, which means the growth of in terms of the speed is going to be exponential, right, over time. And then the other, so well, I suppose those are the two things. One is that the time it's going to take blockchain to achieve what the internet did is going to be shorter, but it also means that the growth is going to be greater than what the internet has achieved.
Okay.
So the likes of the blockchain versions of Google will be much bigger in a shorter time frame. So it's not going to take us 30 years to get there. It's going to take us 15 years to get there, and it's not going to be Google's going to be worth, you know, I don't know, 5 trillion or whatever the market cap is, but whatever the equivalent of Google is will be 20 trillion or 10 trillion or whatever it is.
Right. I see. Fully get what you're saying and fully agree. Yeah. Apple was the first $1 trillion public company, but you are the faster sooner for the next, already there are a few $1 trillion companies, but obviously, definitely there will be a few crypto $1 trillion companies.
Yeah, for sure.
That will be there much faster, right? Than the first $1 trillion company. It's like
no
a 4
idea.
minute. It's like a 4-minute mile. Yeah, it's like the 4-minute mile.
Yeah. And I've no idea who MySpace is. Never used it. Never really understood it. But I do know it's a dodo.
Right. Okay. Right.
Whereas Facebook is not a dodo.
Right. Okay. So
that's a good blog, isn't it? Eh?
Yeah, it is.
Facebook is not a dodo, yet.
Okay. All right. I think the biggest thing that comes from this conversation is that I from my perspective is if we agree, and I think we are agreeing on the target audience, this block of people, basically, so we're looking at 10,000. I think maybe 1,000 to 10,000, right? 10,000. Well, let's make it 10,000. Okay, 10,000. That's like the average investment we're looking at. And so for this audience, like what would be the most seamless experience? I would assume that's your peers or people you have access to, like even like direct personal relation with. And I think that's good because then that means we can onboard them and resolve their pain much directly. Okay, and create a user experience that works for them. And I think it starts by creating the user experience for you. Right? So Mike, it's I
go and get your wallet out, Michael.
Yeah, I mean, either you can test the current system. I would say maybe 2 routes. One is you can test out the Telegram service experience, right? See what it's like. Or with the current JCF main fund, and just go through the process yourself. And then maybe we want to troubleshoot for you, or if you are getting stuck at any point, okay, I think just make sure that you have invested. From my knowledge or perspective or my current understanding, you should be able to do that now with your account.
Okay.
So yeah, so it's and it could be a session where I'm helping you as well, see if if you like that, or maybe you like to just try it out yourself. What do you think? And then record the block points and resolve them one by one, for example, right?
Yeah.
To see how we can improve on the experience of people, going through that process.
Okay.
All right. So
all
right. And for me, I think it's to investigate how to put our JCF stuff on CoinMarketCap, what it's going to take. Because if we can leverage that and start to have public records recording, and I think it's good as we are migrating from Wealth to the Wealth platform, because the new tokens on Wealth, it's going to be tradable, unlike the first generation, the current JCF main fund. It's not tradable, meaning that it can be exchanged on decentralized exchange, okay, and creating public records for that. Yeah.
So there's maybe look, we wanted to wrap this up, right? Because it's late in your house. You probably want to go to bed and stuff like that. But I do want to talk about this subject of the public and non-public trading of tokens and all the rest of it.
Okay, right. Okay.
But again, that I can wait for that. It just I suppose the challenge is we only have so much time every time we meet, right? We've got like an hour and 15 minutes to try and say a lot.
Which is a good forcing function, actually.
Well, It is, but I'd rather have that once we've got, I don't know, better grounding in everything.
Okay.
But again, I'm not suggesting we spend more time. I just don't know how to answer the question, because it might say maybe we have to be more diligent with how we use Slack or some channel that if there's, so for instance, I want to ask questions about exchanges and whether or not we get on the exchanges and whether we get on, how we do that, and what's the values of that, and so on and so forth, and what will that mean for the token value, and is that something that that we should be doing, because it'll bring about all of that conversation, all that dialogue, whether or not it's spoken or it's typed down. But anyway, I that we just have to, that would be something I'd want to talk about.
Okay, sure.
You've got to get on. I don't want to. Asking that question means that you're going to answer it now. I don't want to do that because you need to go.
I see. I think this is what we can do. We can leverage, again, this is something less, the lean, the replaceable founder guy, Gary, has used, which is recorded voice messages, asynchronous Q&A. Okay, he's actually doing that for his coaching client. So I think what we can do is you can just ask your questions in a question format. I'll answer with a recording. And depending on where you like that to happen, I mean, we can do it on WhatsApp or I guess, either WhatsApp or Telegram, right? I think
that's really cool. Yeah, why not? Yeah, I get that.
Because they can record. And I would suggest actually let's do it maybe on Telegram and with the team channel, right? So that anybody who is interested will have the time to listen to. And also we can get that transcribed if needed by our assistant, right? Because I think Poet is also there. So that I think that's the best utilization. And even some of those Q&A can turn into blog, to whatever podcast and whatnot, right? So that's leverage. Let's leverage the latest thinking approach, the best practices. And I think Barry's asynchronous communication is fantastic. He's doing 99% of his communication asynchronously, like he said that live discussion should be reserved for only things like, I guess, consensus or, like brainstorm. But everything else, a lot of the things people do live actually can be asynchronous. Okay. I think that was a take home message, at least for me. Yeah. So how about that? I'd be happy to answer, the exchange thing. Yeah. So just shoot up your questions. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Fine. Fair enough.
What do you think? What do you think? Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it's a great idea.
Because I can listen and just answer, and we can be more flexible.
You want me to speak the questions, right? Not type them.
You can type them, but I think if it's easier for you to describe whatever, but I think either text or voice, right? No video recording. Okay, yeah. Unless you want to maybe show stuff, yeah. But all right, would that be all right?
All right, buddy.
Okay, all right. So so that's one. So I think your to do is to get your first investment, and I will make sure how to get onto CoinMarketCap. Okay. Cool. All right.
Okay, great. Awesome.
Okay. All right. Okay. So take care, and we'll talk on the Wednesday night then. All right.
All right. See you later.
All right. Make it a great week. Yeah. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.